Do you review your content strategy? It's a habit that we've got into at Content 10x over the past few years, and it's proven to be hugely beneficial. In fact, we've just done a review and plan for 2023, and there are some massive changes coming up. Listen on for more on how to review your content strategy and changes that we're making. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods, and I'm here to help you maximize your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Content 10x podcast. I'm Amy Woods, the founder of Content 10x, and in this episode, I'm going to be looking at why it's so important to regularly review your content strategy. And I'll explain the changes that we're making to Content 10x content going forward as a result of a recent review that we did. Now, I like to do this every year. At the beginning of 2022, I did a podcast episode called Updating Your Content Strategy, a look at our 2022 content plan. That was episode 219, and I got really good feedback from it, and I know it massively helped many people. So I thought it would be important to do another similar episode, especially seeing as we have decided on a lot of changes. So in this episode, I'll cover why it's important to review your content strategy regularly, 3 ways to go about reviewing it, and big changes Content 10x are implementing after our content review. Now, before I get to the main content, I just wanted to mention the Content 10x Repurposing Effectiveness Scorecard. If you want to find out how your content repurposing strategy and efforts compare to others, and get tailored tips and advice on how to improve, then look no further than our scorecard. It's free, it's 21 quickfire questions, and it takes about 3 minutes to complete. So just head to content10x.com/scorecard and see how you get on. Anyway, as I was saying, we often talk about the importance of reviewing your content strategy because things change all the time. So how do you do it? Well, the first thing I like to do is look at data. So look at what you already do and look at the metrics and data available that will help you to see how well it's performing or not performing. So if you have a podcast, look at all the analytics and data around downloads and listeners. Usually that's available from your podcast hosting platform. If you do, for example, YouTube videos, there's lots of YouTube data available in the platform around people viewing and subscribing and so on. Now, if you are focused more on email marketing, look at the email data available in your email service provider. If it's more about social media, then each platform has different analytics available, and there's lots of third-party analytics tools as well for social media. Or if you focus on search, look at Google Analytics as a starter for 10. Now, the point here is find out what data is available for the marketing that you focus on and review that. So that's number 1. Number 2 would be to actually ask your audience. So you can do polls on social media, you can run surveys, you can send an email to your email subscribers asking for feedback. You can even directly contact some individuals who you know consume your content and ask them if they have some time to discuss and provide feedback. You can even engage a third party if you want to gather feedback from your audience and customers, if you've got budget to do that and if you would like that approach as well. But really importantly, don't just be led by the data, actually ask and speak to your audience as well. And then thirdly, look at the research available. There's lots of really useful, informative research that looks into what's happening in the world of content, delving deep into things like podcast marketing or video marketing, social media marketing, and so on. So if there's a certain area that you want to make changes, see if you can find some reputable research into what is working. For example, we've been looking closely at a report recently called the 4th Annual LinkedIn Algorithm Research Report 2022 by Richard Valderblom, who's the founder of a company called Just Connecting. Now, I'll provide the link for this document in the show notes because it's really, really interesting for anyone creating content and building an audience and network on LinkedIn. You should check this report out. So we found it super useful and it helped inform some of the changes and updates that we are making to our content strategy for 2023, which quite nicely provides a segue into my own announcement. Now, I mentioned our own review allowed us to step back and make some changes. And one of those big changes is from this week, the Content 10X podcast is going to be moving to a bi-weekly schedule instead of weekly. Now, after 5.5 years pretty much, and 271 episodes of creating and hosting this as a weekly podcast, this isn't a decision that we came to lightly. Now, I started off embarking on a weekly schedule because I wanted to share a unique point of view on content repurposing each week and become known as an authority. In fact, I wanted to become known as the authority on content repurposing. And when you're starting with a content strategy from zero, then weekly makes sense because it's all about making an impact, being consistent, and building up a useful content library. And a weekly approach with effective repurposing builds up a really, really useful, valuable content library. It was also practicing what we preach as well and being empathetic when it comes to our clients by having a similar content marketing approach to those who we support. We've also found it has been really good for experimenting with repurposing as well. We have loads of content each week that we can repurpose in various different ways, and we've been able to take what we've learned and share that with our clients and improve our services. But what got you here doesn't always get you there, so the time has come to try something new. One of the reasons is we are going to follow our own advice when it comes to a less is more approach with content. At the end of 2022, I gave a content marketing prediction to Content Marketing Institute for a piece of content that they were creating. And it was people are going to be focusing on doing more with less when it comes to content. I also did a whole episode on this topic, episode 259 called Doing More with Less. So that's at content10x.com/259. I also had a great conversation with Robert Rose, a guest on the podcast, in episode 262, and we talked all about knowing when enough is enough with regards to your content. Now, that's a great conversation, by the way, so I'll put the links to all of these episodes in the show notes. So as 2022 drew to a close and we reviewed our 2023 content plan, so much was pointing in this direction it was hard to ignore. Because each of our podcast episodes take lots of time. It requires planning, researching, scripting, writing, recording, editing, post-production, repurposing, publishing all the repurposed content. It's at least 20 hours or more an episode across different members of the team. So by making the podcast bi-weekly, we are saving an awful lot of time, and this is time that we want to invest in the following ways. So first, we want to invest in improving the quality of the episode topics, so more research, more understanding our audience, more focus on quality outputs of the content itself as well. So it's not just topics that will improve with much better quality and more research, but also the outputs as well. Our content is really high quality anyway, but there's always the chance to raise the bar. Even, for example, if we decide on something like having much better looking captions on our videos rather than the more standard captions that some tools provide, then a small tweak like that can still be an extra hour or more for a team member, and so on. So it's all those improvements that add a bit more time that we'll have more time to embrace if we follow this new schedule. So overall, quality increase for the show is a big factor in this decision. But we also want to spend more time on other content that we create. For example, we have lots of thought leadership content, we have case studies, as well as the new season of our other podcast, B2B Content Strategist, which is in the planning stages at the moment. So more time to focus on that other content. We're also going to have more time to put into repurposing the content we've already created, because we're sitting on 271 podcast episodes right now. And all the content that comes with all of those podcast episodes, because all of them have been repurposed. There's associated blog posts and videos and graphics and videos for social media as well as YouTube and so on. And so many of this content is really useful, really valuable, still applicable today. And we're going to have more time to get the dust off that and bring it back to the forefront again and share more of that content. So we're going to spend some time to see how we can bring some of that great content to the forefront again when we move to this bi-weekly schedule. Now, we've seen a lot of people in the B2B marketing space doing this as well, so moving to bi-weekly over weekly. So we're really happy and keen to test it and see how it goes. Then just another few updates. So we're going to start videoing some of the audio-only podcasts, resulting in more video content for our social media and YouTube. A lot of our podcast episodes going forward will have more of a how-to focus, and we also plan on having more how-to tutorial videos on YouTube related to teaching different aspects of how to repurpose different types of content. Then finally, we're going to be focusing more on LinkedIn and getting the balance between my personal profile and the Content 10x page right. And we want to start creating more multimedia posts for LinkedIn, especially for my thought leadership content. So quite a lot changing, and I'm very excited about it. Now that's it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I really just want to finish off by saying it's so important to review your content strategy and not rest on your laurels. Things change, so be brave, be bold, and make changes. And don't be afraid to change something that you've always done, because sometimes it might not need to be broken for you to fix it. It might just be time for a change. So I hope that me sharing what we're doing and why we're doing it will help you with your review. And I hope that the different ways that I discussed of how you can embark on that review will also help you to get started. So I wish you all the luck with updating your content strategy. I hope you're looking forward to and will benefit from changes that you make to your content in 2023. If you want someone to help you get the most out of your content, then look no further than Content 10x if you want support with repurposing. We provide a fully done-for-you end-to-end repurposing service for video and audio content. Also, I mentioned before, but make sure to take our scorecard if you want to know how you compare to others and get tailored tips and advice on how to improve your content repurposing. Head to content10x.com/scorecard, or if you want to just know straight away about our services and the way that we can help you, then head to content10x.com/services. So all that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.